Uh, Good morning. Welcome to our website, this Regional Environment, Science and Technology and Health website for South America. Mathias Vuille, you're a climate scientist on a return visit to Peru, but the first time under this program, the Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas. Can you give us welcome and tell us a little bit about why you're here and what meetings you'll be having?
Sure. I'm here primarily because I've been working on climate change, glacier retreat, and associated impacts for a number of years. And beginning this week, for 2 days, there was a meeting hosted by the International Hydrologic Program of UNESCO dedicated exactly to this aspect. And now I'm spending here a couple of days under the Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas programs. So I will give a series of talks at the University of San Marcos later today, and then also at the Ministry of the Environment. We'll also have a meeting later in the evening with the Vice Minister from the Ministry of Environment to look at some proposals related to adaptation to glacier retreat and climate change.
Right now, we're in the beginning of the month of June. In a few weeks, the Rio 20 meeting will take place in Rio. And I understand there are about 54,000 or so registered for that meeting. 102 heads of state, scientists from all over the world, business people, NGOs, to discuss sustainable development. And what is your view of this meeting? I understand you will be attending the meeting. What is your view of it? What would be a successful outcome for Rio in your view?
Well, I have sort of two slightly conflicting views in my head on all of this. One is that I'm a little bit worried about these very, very big meetings where everybody's rushing to the meeting, and in the end there's very little outcome and not really much happening afterwards. Sometimes I feel like smaller meetings tend to be much more productive than these huge meetings that take several years in preparation and lead up. Having said that, I will also be at that meeting for two separate events, which are smaller events, very much focused on specific topics. One is related to water resources and future challenges in water resources, such as changes in extremes, droughts, for example, but also problems in mountain regions and the lack of water due to glacier retreat. So I think there is an important role to be played here by these types of meetings, as long as they have a clear focus, a clear vision, and they come out with a clear set of recommendations. So I'm somewhat hopeful, but in the end, I think we'll only know in hindsight whether this meeting was actually a success or a failure. But the fact that it is on the agenda, the fact that everybody's talking about it and it is on their minds is already a good thing, because we need to move forward with protecting our environment, with addressing climate change and all these associated problems.
And how do you see this meeting in relationship to the COP process, the conversations about climate change and trying to reach a global accord on reducing emissions? And related to that, adaptation as opposed to mitigation. I have a sense that adaptation is the new sort of ideology, and we're forgetting, because we're just sort of accepting that these emissions are a reality, so we just need to learn how to adapt to it, and somehow we'll move forward sustainably, as long as we concentrate on the adaptation. Is that a false path, or is that a sensible way to think of it?
Well, it's a very good question, because just a few years ago, I think the view was the exact opposite, that we were only talking about mitigation, and that adaptation was basically viewed as giving up on reducing emissions and addressing the root cause of climate change. But the reality is that climate change carries a lot of inertia with it. It is not something that we could stop from one day to the next, even if we wanted to. We've already committed to a considerable degree of climate change that will occur in the future, regardless of what we end up doing, whether we end up actually reducing our carbon footprint very quickly or not. So adaptation is a necessity in many places of the world, and I think it's important to have that focus. So I would say we need to do both. Adaptation is something we can do in the short term or can lead to results in the short term, but we have to, of course, continue to work on mitigation as well and move towards cleaner renewable energies and reduce the carbon footprint. As far as the COP process is concerned, that is a little bit the same as what I mentioned earlier. I think it is very important that we have that process, these international negotiations. Having said that, many of these COP meetings, Copenhagen in particular, have been a failure. I think there's no other way of saying it. And there's always a big hope and a big buzz about these meetings, and in the end, the outcome, there is very little concrete action and concrete commitments by states to actually address the issue and reduce their emissions and set clear targets.
The Copenhagen Accord, and then there was the Cancun principles, and then the Durban platform, a movement towards now a conversation, an agreement to negotiate a legally binding agreement by 2020. But one can argue whether that's too slow but one can say that there have been advances in those conversations.
Certainly there have been advances, and it is slow, but if we were able to do that, it would still be a big step forward. I'm just a little bit skeptical whether it will happen, because we're always pushing the deadline out a few more years. And again, I'm a scientist. I just view the scientific aspects of this. I don't fully appreciate probably all the legal and legal aspects and everything else that goes into these international negotiations. I just view from a scientific standpoint that urgent action is needed, and it's oftentimes not really proceeding at the pace that we scientists would like to see.